First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, a little apologies. There were some technical difficulties to get this conversation to finally go together, but we finally did. Um, I was a guest on on Karina's show, Behind the Pen, and this month we agreed that we would return the favor. And so here I am interviewing the one and only Karina Kantas. Karina, how goes?
Hi, Josh. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Absolute nightmare with the internet. But like you say, you shouldn't worry about things that you can't control. But we're here, and yeah, I'm really happy to be on your show. How you doing, Josh?
I'm my usual serious self. This has been International Week for me, and as a result, of this, I've been just doing my thing. I can hear myself on your phone.
Oh, you want me to use earphones?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. No problemo.
If you're gonna be on the phone, yeah, because I hear my echo.
Right, let's sort that out now.
Hello, hello, hello. Okay, I don't hear myself. Do you hear me?
Hold on.
Oh, kind of hear it.
Okay, say something.
Hi, hey, hey, ho, ho, hee, hee, ho, ho. Hi. So, ladies and
Okay,
gentlemen,
we're cool.
this took a little while to actually get this all together today, but finally, we have Karina Kantas. She is the host of Behind the Pen. She's an author. She's also got a beautiful singing voice. She actually sent me over the holidays a thing of her actually singing, because I remember talking to her on her show about doing that, and she did. And you have an amazing singing voice. I just got to say that right now. Yeah. You should, yeah, honestly, you should do it more often. I mean, considering just how good you are, it just sounds to me like, it's a gift you have, so you should probably definitely use it in some form or fashion. That's just me, though.
I did. I can't do it anymore. I have a throat problem now. I've got to get an MRI on. But I used to sing live in a rock band when I was younger. And then I'm in a rock choir in the local village where I live in Greece. You can tell from my accent I'm English, but I'm actually living on the island of Corfu. And so us girls get together, we can't anymore because of COVID. Once we get rid of COVID, we'll get together again and we sing in a rock choir. We raise money for charity for children in need. And what I did New Year, I don't know if you saw on my page, I actually did live karaoke session with me and my youngest daughter on New Year's Eve.
That's really cool.
Everybody else, but we're stuck at home in lockdown. We got dressed up, we sang, and she's got a beautiful voice as well. She's only 11. So there's about 5 live videos on my Facebook page of where we went live on New Year's Eve.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, is your daughter as good as you?
She's getting better than me, especially with my throat. The way my throat is, it's definitely better than me.
But yeah. That's what you but that's what you want, right? I mean, we all, when we have kids, we hope they're better than us. I mean, that's kind of like the end dream, I think.
You know, something else that she's beat me at. I was 20 when I published my first book. She was 7. She has 2 books out that she illustrated and wrote herself, and she's now 11. So wow.
So wow, I actually now feel inadequate too. Holy crap! So your daughter's a genius. Your daughter's a genius. That's awesome.
Singing, writing. She takes after her mum, definitely.
Yeah.
That's my youngest.
That's awesome. No, that's really, really awesome. No, that's amazing actually. No, since we last talked, I mean, this has been my gig now since we started, because I've been interviewing people on my Twitch nonstop for about I'd say for, hold on a second here, I almost forgot. Haha, there, made that change. Okay, I forgot. It's one of those situations where I realized that like I found my niche, and this is what I do really, really well. So I'm trying to turn it into something. This week's interesting because I'm talking to people all over the world. Last 2 days it was India and Pakistan. Today you're in Greece, and then tomorrow is France. Yeah, so I wanted to have like an international flavor this week, and I think I did an okay job of it. So, how are? Ooh, hey, I'm popular here. But no, just in general. Since we were here, so what are your goals this year? I mean, the apocalypse. The apocalypse. I think the lockdowns come to an end sometime this year. I actually, that's what I actually think. Um, but I don't. That doesn't mean we're out of it entirely. But I do think. Um, I think at some point this year the governments are going to throw in the towel on the lockdowns. I don't know how much longer. I know it's like here. I don't know what it's like over there. But I get the feeling that we're all getting kind of tired of it, and I'm also getting the feeling that. But I mean, we can't stay in this reaction for forever. So I think this.
It's definitely going to have to change. With the vaccine being around now, I think the lockdown will be lifted. We're actually in Corfu, we're free of the virus, but we are in strict lockdown because the rest of Greece are, and we have to follow their instructions. We get caught outside, it's €300 instant fine. So, so yeah, we have no COVID in Corfu, and yet we're treated as though we do have. So hopefully the lockdown will get rid of, because we are a tourist resort and we rely on the tourists coming over in the summer. That's where we get our money from. That's where we work. And if the lockdown carries on and the flights and everything, the borders are shut, then excuse my language, but we're fucked, basically.
I don't know how travel is going to be this year. I think travel is going to be the last thing to come back. I do think though that this is what I think. I can go based on what I've seen here. There's a lot of here. There's a lot of hypocrisy with it. So I don't see. It just it's created a lot of hostility that otherwise I think didn't need to be there. But that hostility, I think one of two things is going to happen. Either at some point the government's just going to say throw in the towel. Whether the vaccine works or it doesn't work, it's here. And at some point we've got to be like, okay, let's go out and move forward. But also, I also think too that at least here, I can't speak about there. I get the feeling that Europe takes better care of its people than they do here. But I just get that feeling. I may be wrong on that, but I get the feeling.
Over in Greece, we are the lowest in COVID cases because he acted so quickly and because he was so strict with the lockdown. We have been really well. Those that had COVID have been looked after. There's not so many deaths as the rest of Europe. Like I said, Corfu, we're free of the virus, but we still have to stick to their rules. And they are very, very strict lockdown. I think probably one of the most strictest in Europe. But because of him doing that, we are the lowest to actually have cases. So that's good.
Okay, so can I ask this? Like, what's the population like where you're at? Is it small? Is it small? Is it big? Is it like medium? Here, there's 200,000 people where I'm at. How about you? Like, what's the population?
I actually have no idea how many people live in Corfu. It's like I said, it's a tourist island. So the people that live here are probably most of them are English and Greek and German, some French maybe. But when the tourist comes over, it's all English over here. So we just have to wait for England because they're on strict lockdown now. They've gone to tier 4 because of so many cases. They are in such a bad way at the moment over in the UK. And until that decreases, we can't open our borders to them because that's how Greece got so bad in our numbers over the summer because we had the English over and we were getting infected. But we had to open our borders because Greece is a tourist place. You know, we live by tourism. And if we did 1.5 months last summer, I'm hoping we do a full season this year. I don't know. But the borders will not open until England is safe. We will not allow them into the country again.
No, England is much like the United States in terms of how they've dealt with COVID. So, let's talk about something happier. So, your daughter,
Yes, let's.
your daughter's better than both of us. We established that. What are your goals this year? Like, are you writing wise, publishing wise, your show? What do you want to do?
Well, I have my radio show, Author Assist, on the Artist First Radio Network. I am booked up most of the summer already, so that's really good. I have my Behind the Pen, which you've been on, which is going really well. I've had some pretty big people and stars, and I've had editors. I've got a musician coming up in a few days, my first musician. And I have Author Assist, which is where I help independent authors with their promotion, marketing, doing book trailers, graphics, narrations, whatever. Lots of new clients so far this year, which is really good. So work is really good, and because I work from home, that's fantastic, and I'm with my family 24/7 because I work at home. Writing wise, I have 2 books so far going to be published. The first is the sequel to Toxic, and Toxic here is a little paperback. It's a pocketbook. Isn't it so cute?
It's such a cute, tiny little book. Yes.
Yes. You can get it in ebook, or you can buy it in a pocketbook. It's like $5. I worked with another author on this. We did the same book, except mine's erotica and hers is clean. So we give the audience, readers, a choice. Which one do they want? Do they want it spicy, or do they want it clean? They go to Amazon.
I'm guessing the spicy one wins more often than not.
I don't know. We've both of us have got the same amount of reviews at the moment. But yeah, Toxic. We're working now. Toxic 2. We're about, I say, 80% through the writing. Then it will go to an editor once we're finished, and Toxic 2 will be coming out. Again, I'll be going erotica, and again, she'll be going clean. But when I say she'll be going clean, I think she's getting a little more ambitious now with her.
Well, so here's the thing, right? This is what I've learned. You give people a choice between the clean version. It doesn't sound as nice as the Forbidden Door, right? There's like a Forbidden Door aspect to the erotica. It's like, okay, let's see what you can do. And in all fairness, like I've said this to some romance writers I've had on the show, like what you guys do is an art form. I mean, it really, really is an art form. You're essentially playing with people's fantasies in a really, really fun way, and I mean, there's an audience for that. Like I have found with women I've dated, there's a lot of what you do romantically with the woman who you're with is here. You try to stimulate here more than you stimulate even the physical stuff, because if you get stuff here, if you get their fantasies going here, they're with you with everything else you do. And I mean everything.
What's different about this, and what my editor and other people have said about the Toxic, is that it's not, erotica is behind. It's first a dystopian sci-fi book, and it has erotica. So erotica's not taking over the book, but it's very sexual in scenes.
So it sounds like very Alana Andrews. You know who Alana Andrews is?
I do.
Yeah, it's like her Kate Daniels stuff. There's a little erotica in it, but by and large, it's an urban fantasy. Like that's what it is. Like it's an urban fantasy with some romantic elements to it. Whereas they do other things that are more romantic elements, and then is fantasy. But like Kate Daniels is very much first and foremost a story about a relationship between two people. One's a were-lion, and another one's badass sorceress. So, but
with this one, like I said, it's more dystopian. Basically, I'll just read the blurb quickly. 100 years into the future, after the world has been changed by acid rain, a Malak named Lexi is straining against the rules of a new society, and so begins Toxic, a story with more action, love, life, and war, and lesbian than many full-length novels. This eclectic book makes magazines a must-read list. Electric Eclectic is a branding, it's not a publisher. And all of the authors that are in this branding, we promote each other.
Awesome.
And so we're a little team.
So basically, you're a collective, is what you are. You're a collective of authors, like almost like a rock band of different authors promoting each other and working together to spread your name out there.
Exactly, that's what it's all about. Electric Eclectic. I always have a hard time doing that. I've got 2 books with them, and when Toxic 2 comes out, that will be the 3rd book with this branding.
So you guys, like, honestly, the cool thing about this time is that reading is up. Like, reading is absolutely up, and during this time, because let's be honest, I mean, television isn't going to be made with any speed anytime soon. Even if the pandemic was to end tomorrow, you're probably looking at about 4 or 5 months of like nothing being made, right? Or nothing coming out that's really, really new until probably about 6 months down the road. Like, that's what you're looking at in terms of production, post-production for television. And movies is going to be another animal altogether. So, so basically, right now, content. If you're making music, if you're making video games, if you're making books, you kind of have an opportunity right now. So
exactly. Reading is the only way for people to step out of this unsettling reality and allow themselves to live inside a book. It could be fantasy, it could be dystopian, it could be horror, it could be thriller, but you're getting out of the life you're in now, and you're stepping in someone else's shoes, and for a while you can forget about the shit that's going on in real life and enjoy the shit that's going on in the book.
No, it's funny, like, for me during this time, I've been discovering different things about myself in terms of talents I have, niches I found, I've been going down the freelance path, and I've been like, okay, what's my niche, and not realizing I just do this all the time anyway. So I mean, that is my niche. That is what I do, and that I have found has been, how do I put this? It's been kind of liberating in one sense, because it's really neat to you've learned. This has been a unique opportunity. I think, like I said, I personally think as we get farther into the year, there's going to be a shift at some point. But even though I don't know if we're going to come out of it completely one way or the other, I don't know about that. I do realize that this pause, I felt like this has been like a long pause. This has been a chance to discover things about yourself. It's been a chance to just cope. It's been a chance to just think some things through. And I've been writing books. I've been illustrating, which has been kind of fun to do. That's been my new secret hidden talent. I draw stuff, and sometimes I'm good. Sometimes I'm having fun, which is all that really matters. So my question is for you: what have you discovered about you in this time?
Well, I do a little bit of drawing now and again, poetry when I feel like it. I have to be in the right mood to write poetry. I would never ever read a poetry book because I don't like poetry, but I have to be in the right mood to write it. And I've done a lot of poetry, actually. Strange, I know. This year, what have I learned about myself? It's affected my family more than it has me, because I'm doing exactly what I was doing before COVID hit. I don't go out. I have a disability. I have to walk downstairs, and when I walk, I have to have a walking stick. So I stay in anyway without COVID. I'm a high risk, so it's dangerous for me to be out anyway. Not necessarily in Corfu, of course, but if I was in the UK, I wouldn't be around people. So I don't think I haven't really learned. No, I haven't really learned anything new about myself. I've just been doing what I do, and it's good.
So it sounds like to me you were kind of like me. Like, this is my second apocalypse, not my first. And like, after the first one I went through, this time it was like, okay, let's see how we can make some money in this time. Like, how can we grow, and how can we evolve, because like I said, I'm optimistic about how things are going to work out. I think we've talked about my optimism on your show. I kind of look at, like, life is long on possibilities, and I kind of just see that the fact that we can go a zillion different ways right now, and we can choose to go any way we kind of want to. It's weird, like when you confront your mortality. What I've learned is, like, life is truly a fragile thing. But I think that's what makes it worth living, because it's such a fragile thing. You have to at some point just go to yourself, okay, this is the way it is, but what can I do in this time? How can I still be me and live? Because I think and this might be my detriment. I'm more concerned about living than dying, right? And how to live a life than worrying about how it might end. I know, like, what, and that's just me making kind of my internal peace with me, and yeah, right. I've made that peace. So for me, it's just like, okay, let's just keep living life. Let's keep doing as many amazing things as I can do, because it's what I got. It's right. It's now. It's never.
I mean, this is why I keep busy with the podcast, the narration, all the things, the book trailers. I'm just so busy every single day, keep myself busy so I don't have to think about things. But if there wasn't COVID my way, I take 15 pills every day. I'm in constant pain. I have so many serious conditions with my health that I forget about, like you say, I forget about the death, because I'm going to die with these conditions. There's no remedy for them. There's no magic pill. But I don't think about that. I think about now. I get it with a smile on my face for my family, whether I'm in pain or not. I do my job and I really enjoy what I'm doing. And for me, that's my life. Even though I'm in the house, even though I don't go out much, this is the life that I know I have. And so I'm going to make the most of it and enjoy it while I can.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that, like, that's the thing. Like, you can still chase joy in this time. Like for me, I'm looking at the fact that, like, once springtime gets here, once we're through this really weird winter, I'm looking at the fact, okay, what do I want to do next? And I know, like, for me, my dream with this podcast is, I'm going to be looking at the fact that down the road, I want to travel on the road and meet people like yourself up close and personal, face to face, and just have wonderful chats about life, the universe, and everything. Because, like, why not? I don't it's weird. Like, we all have our different wants and goals and things like that. And for me, I don't have a lot of things. And in a weird way, I don't mind that, because it gives me a freedom very few people actually have, right? If you have a house, and again, now maybe someday I get a family, and then my whole mentality will change. But because I'm just by myself, I have this ability to go, like, okay, why do I want a house? It doesn't really make sense for me, because, again, it's just a big thing it sounds like work. That's literally what it sounds like. It sounds like work. So
you're a gypsy. You need to travel. You don't want to lay your hat down. You want to travel. You want to meet people. You want to experience new things, new food, new environments, and chat with people and learn their story. That's Josh.
Yes.
That is who Josh is.
Yeah, no, that's totally it, right? For me, like, there's not. My uncle was a photographer, and he was very fortunate. Him and his wife essentially traveled the world together. That was their life. They would go all over the world. They'd take pictures. They would do things, and I mean, he was very, very fortunate that way. And I look at that, and I was like, that's a heck of a way to live. Like, I think the cool thing, like, one of the cool things about this time in a positive light is it makes people really question what normal can be, right? And I'm, like I said, I'm a wanderer. That's who I am. I wander. I do stuff, and that's me. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's me. So I know that that's what I'm going to be doing sooner than later. Like I said, whatever the consequences they are, they are. But I mean, everybody can change their, like I said, life's long on possibilities. That's what I love about life, is we can do anything we want to. And I think something like this, the best thing about it is you can reevaluate your wants, your goals, your dreams, your desires in a way that, okay, I've gone down this path for so long, but I don't have to anymore. Things have changed. I can do other things now. Does that make sense?
It does. It does for your situation. For my situation, I look at what things I used to get stressed and upset about, which were nothing to me. They're nothing now.
Yeah.
You know, there's so little I should never have got upset or stressed or angry about. So I know now that those kind of things I just brush off my shoulder, get it up, get away. You know, I'm not interested. They don't matter anymore. When you look at what you've lost in a situation like this, what you took for granted, what everyone took for granted that they don't have anymore, the freedom, the hugs, the closeness, we don't have that anymore. The outside social networking, it's all virtual now. So you look at what you've lost and you embrace what you still have. And that's the way I look at it.
Okay, no, that's cool. No, like I said, my first apocalypse killed a lot of the concerns I had in the past, right? So this time, because this is the second time I've been in a difficult situation, for me, it's not. I'm past. I'm not saying I didn't learn new. Obviously, I learned new things about myself, but for me, it was different in the sense that it didn't hit me the same way. It was like, okay, this is going to be a time of adversity. That's what this was going to be, and I kind of knew what that felt like. So it's like for me, I already had a certain resiliency built in, whereas before, I think for a lot of people, this is the first time this like an adversity like this has ever happened. Obviously I've never been through anything like this exactly, but facing adversity is something I've been through before. So there was a sense of I've already had a certain degree of resiliency before. I think now when people come out of this, and they will, and when people do come out of this, I think all of us in general are going to be a lot tougher.
It's going to. I mean, want to get rid of the COVID and then we get back into trying to get back into life and everyone working and what have you. It's going to affect a lot of people psychologically. After, not just now, but after, when we think about what happened and we just can't believe that it happened in our life. I think some people will be really affected by it, and that's something we know that's going to happen once we get try and get back to real life. We've got to mentally prepare ourselves for that.
So what's real life? I got to ask you this. Like, what's real life for you? I'm kind of curious.
This my real life, my daily life. Okay, so I should be up at 10 o'clock to take my meds, and I get woken up at 12 o'clock with the lovely breakfast by my husband. I'm straight on the computer working for my clients 5 days a week, nearly 10 hours a day. So the computer goes off. It doesn't go off, though, it stays on, but it goes off of business-wise after 10 o'clock. Anyone who needs me, my clients, and they message me, of course, I'm going to answer them. I'm always there for them 24/7. That's not a problem. I don't sleep. I suffer from severe insomnia. So I'm writing, I'm reading, I'm doing other stuff, even working for my clients. If I'm bored and I don't want to read anymore, I might work on a newsletter or something. And I'll probably fall asleep maybe 6, 7 a.m. Computer's still on, by the way. It fell off my lap onto the bed. Computer's still on. I'm actually fell asleep for 2-3 hours and then I get woken up.
Okay.
I can't reach REM 4. When my mind gets to REM 4, it wakes up. I don't dream anymore, which is a real bugger because most of my ideas for my books came from dreams when I was first started writing. So I don't dream anymore because I can't pass the REM4, which is the dreaming stage. So yeah, that's basically, except for weekends when I do my own writing and my own publicity for my own books, because I have 13 books out. The weekend is mine, but the 5 days a week is to my clients, and I work my ass off.
Of course you do. You have to. I mean, it sounds like you embraced your inner freelancer a long time ago, anyway. So, and so, I got you're in the service. I'm not saying you don't write for freelance because I get the feeling you do, but you're definitely more in the service end of freelancing. So, so my question to you is, what's the coolest thing about consulting so many different writers about their stuff? Like, what's your favorite thing about it?
I love meeting new writers that haven't got a clue. They've just got their book ready, it's published, they don't know what the hell to do next. That's when I come in. I go through all their social media, I check that everything is polished and ready for people to see their group page, their Instagram page. I make sure that it's socially ready for the readers to find. I will go onto their websites, I will go onto Amazon, and I will look at how their books look, the descriptions, the blurbs. I will help them with that. I will change their categories and get them up in the charts, their book in the charts. If their cover is crap, I will tell them that. I am 100% generally honest. And if someone asks my opinion, whether they want to hear the truth or not, they will get the truth. And people in the community, Facebook, know that I'm like that. They know me as someone who will really give them the lay down of their blurb or their cover or what they're doing wrong. Whether they listen or not is another matter. But I love helping authors that don't know where to go next, because then I can show them the path they need to go on, and not just do the work for them. I want to train them. I want them to be able to do it themselves. So when they bring out their next book, they're not hiring me again, because they know how to promote their book now. They know how to get over that bloody wall that Facebook keep on building. They know how to do Amazon ads. They know how to do graphics for their books, how to interact with new readers. And I've taught them that, so they don't have to hire me again. But there are some authors that all they do is write, and they haven't got time to promote the books. That's when I come in as a VA, a virtual assistant, and I promote their books daily for them around social media and places. And yeah, I love it. And when I get testimonials from new clients, past clients, and I know that I've done my job, and I know how thankful they are that they hired me, that's why I keep going. That's what gives me the incentive to carry on with what I'm doing. And I've got 30 plus services now. It started off with one, Narrations by KK. That's how it all started. And now I have 30 different services that I can offer to even established authors that are stuck in a rut and can't move on. They don't know why their book's not selling. Come to me and I will tell you why, and we'll sort it out. And that's what I do, and that's what I love, and that's why I've been doing it for the last 2015. I started Author Assist, but I've been in this business for 27 years as an author and learning right from the beginning, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And when I was first published, there was no Kindle, it was all paperback, and there was no publishers or agents. Nobody wanted my book, so I had to self-publish. At the time, they were all vanity presses. And as we know, vanity press rip you off. And I got burnt really badly with my vanity press. And then I decided to self-publish it myself, my first book, which is In Times of Violence. I self-published that myself through Lulu. And 27 years, I'm still with Lulu. And I love Lulu. And I'm with KDP for my Kindle for my ebooks, but for my paperbacks, most of them are from Lulu. So I carried on self-publishing, and then I found out that I wanted to go, after you've done your ebook, you've done your paperback, your hardback, whatever, the next thing is audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to ACX, and I'm a narrator myself. I could have done my own book. I went to ACX and I filled in the forms, and it was like, oh, you live in Greece. I'm sorry, you can't do an audiobook with us. You can't hire a narrator. You can't do the narration yourself because you live in Greece. So then I contacted a few other places that did audiobooks, and they weren't working on royalties like ACX were, half and half. So I had to forget the idea of ever getting my books into audio until a publisher asked to take on my duology, Delusional Reality, book 1 and book 2. And because she's English, she's able to put the books into audio. And we're currently working on the audiobook of the first book, Illusional Reality. That is now being worked on in audio, and the quest will be next. And that's why I went with a publisher for those two, for that one reason only, was so I can get this book into audio. It's very important to me. And the other books are, like I said, they're all self-published by me.
No, it makes sense. So for me, like I've said this in other shows, like traditional publishing, I'm still interested in it, but I'm coming at it more from this point of view now, and that's this. I can get a lot of this stuff on my own. I live in Canada, so I can make my own audiobooks, and I've done that. I've learned how to make an audiobook. I can write, hire editors, get published. I do all that work myself. I've done all that. I know how to do that. I got to play the Amazon ads at some point this year, and I'm going to with my next book because I've done that. This will be my third book, and it'll be my first single novel. So I'm playing with I'm going to use this as a kind of like my playpen for Amazon, because I realized that again, as an author, like I really like the business of what we do. It really comes down to two things: having people knowing we're there, and our backlist. The more stuff we have in the back, the more actual money we make. It's an interesting thing in that that's how it seems to work, at least here. Is like when I put a book up for pre-order, all my books sell better, all of them, right? Because what happens is now anyone that's looking me up is looking at all my other stuff as well. So what happens is the bigger my library, the bigger my sales, and that's how it seems to magically work out.
They do say that the more books you have, the more chance you have of getting sales. Well, for me, that didn't happen. I've got 13 books, and I don't even bother looking at my KDP stripes anymore because I don't expect to see any. I just don't have time to promote myself. I'm too busy promoting other people.
But
shows like this and radio shows and tell everybody about my books, and hopefully someone will pick it up and do it.
But I actually would disagree with you slightly, and that's this: you are promoting yourself quite a bit, whether you realize it or not. Like, look, I'm promoting myself right now. Like, even though you are my guest, I've been doing shows for a very long time. So what happens is people recognize who I am.
Yeah.
Now that I'm also I'm doing this on a much more regular basis. I'm increasing I'm not scaling up the fact that people are aware that I'm out there, and it's led to some very interesting opportunities in the last little bit. Pardon me, about just different people I can interview, see, do things with. So I find that, like, for me, like, I don't necessarily advertise the book, but I'm advertising me, and since I'm advertising me, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna be like, okay, well, who is this guy? What does he do? Holy shit, he's got books, right? Holy shit, he's got this, that, and the other thing. And what I'm doing essentially is I'm scaling myself up as my own brand. Now, there's going to be a couple things I'm going to be playing with this year because I want to scale myself up as an author. Among them is Amazon ads. Another thing I'm going to be playing with is Kickstarter. because I do think there is, especially for authors, there's a lot of untapped market there. If I sell my book to an audience of 100 and I'm making something like $10,000-$20,000 a shot, this is just me thinking long term here. What will eventually happen, like I won't need, like, I don't care if I'm an award-winning author. That's not what this is about. It's about getting paid, right? Whether it's through your audience, whether it's through publishing, whether it's through your advertising, right? Which that's essentially what this is. Like strictly on a business level, you are advertising. You just, how you're doing it is different. You're doing it through your shows. You're doing it actually through your clients. Now you're advertising your services more than your book. So I think what's probably happened with you is, because you're so good at what you do, the fact that you have so many different clients doing what they're doing, right? And you're spending your time doing them, you are establishing a reputation on the service end, and you're happy. I got the impression with you enjoy teaching, and that's why you like the new author, because you can teach them a specific way that works, right? Whereas someone someone like me, who has some clue but not a full clue, might be a little bit more problematic, because I'm gonna be like, well, what about this? And it might be cool with, like, if it's a good back and forth, that's one thing. But if I'm like, well, no, I know what I'm doing and stuff, and you're like, sucks. And that's pretty much, that's kind of like where you're at, right? It's like you like, in one sense, you like someone getting started because they're open to learning. Someone that's maybe a little bit more established is not quite so keen on learning. I think one of the things I've had to learn personally throughout this whole process is, you can't stop learning. You can't stop growing.
I'm going on webinars. I'm doing mentoring. I'm going on to watch doing lessons. Marketing changes all the time, and if I want to be good at what I do and help my clients, I'm not going to carry on back how it was 10 years ago. Things have changed big time, and I have to keep up with that. And so my time of helping my authors also is spent going to these webinars and learning the new marketing techniques and what's working and what's not working. And if I don't do that, then I'm not doing my job.
Well, no, you're investing. That's your investment. Like I would argue, but this is what I'm saying. Ultimately, you are marketing. You're marketing all the time. The thing is, for you, you're very happy with your business of helping others. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's actually a really cool thing. But I would argue to you, the combination of the fact that you do amazing work, and the fact that you're constantly promoting yourself, that way, that's where you focus a lot of your marketing on, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a bit like I had a small business guy too, and one of the things he's told me, like, the biggest thing you got to do doing this whole process is marketing, and that's first. That is your first and your last challenge all the time. It's not. I do a podcast. I've done 477 of these. You're my 477, so happy to see you. But that's a lot of advertising. That's hundreds and hundreds of hours of work being this podcaster, right? And I've done this so long. So that's where my reputation is, because that's where I've put the most time in. Now, if I want to expand to writing and other things, I'm going to take at least some of the time I'm doing here, right? And I'm going to have to invest that time into my writing goals, because that's the only way I'm going to grow that way. It's even though I've essentially gone full time this way, I already know what kind of like my master plan is, and that is like become an affiliate for these different platforms, so that I'm always generating income doing this, and maybe inevitably it'll open up doors for me to do other incomes in other places. That's kind of like my master plan. And also, like, I have different goals with different books. Some books are going to be strictly Amazon exclusive. Some books are going to be wide. Some books are going to be Kickstarter exclusive, because I kind of feel like there's just, I think the cool thing about being a writer right now is that there's so many different ways you can go right now. and they all reached different varying degrees of success, right? I'll give you an example of a marketing thing I just did. Russell Nolte just did a Kickstarter, and I gave him a copy of my digital copy of the Cloud Diver. So anyone that pledged into his book got a copy of my book. So what I've done, like, that's one of the best. It was a cool marketing thing for me because it was like, well, he's a well-known quantity. He's a well-known quantity. This opens the door. So I'm thinking about this long term. This opens the door for me when I decide to go on Kickstarter. Well, I already have a track record because right. So
that's really good. That's thinking out of the box. That's doing something that nobody else is doing, and that's the only way now that you're going to be known and your books are going to be known, is getting out of this buy my book shit and thinking out of the box for marketing. And what you've done was very, very clever. But here's my question: how many books were given out in the end?
I don't know. It might be actually, from this case, at least a few dozen. Like literally, it's a few dozen right now. He averages a few hundred people, right? And again, this is strictly me thinking in terms of the Kickstarter model, right? You don't need 1,000 people, you need 100, right? So if now, here's the deal, and I know this going in this. Let's say he gets 250 people, okay? Let's say all 250 people get it, which is awesome, okay? Let's say out of that 250, 25 of them like it. I mean, I'm probably being a little conservative. Maybe it's less, maybe it's more, but I always assume low. Let's say 25 people really, really like it. Of that 25, probably another 10 of them might look at some of my other projects, right? Right? And then I'm aware, like, again, I'm doing this in numbers, but what I'm thinking about isn't necessarily my Amazon sales. What I'm thinking about is, okay, I want to do something crowdfunded this year. So what I've done now is I've tapped into an audience that's already pre-built. And even if I only get, let's say I only get 10 people, well, that's 10% of the way to 100 people without even trying really to market myself and make people aware that I'm out there, right? So it's just what I'm more interested in building is an audience right now. So when I do launch my stuff, when I do start really get serious about, okay, I'm going to be crowdfunding. Like, I have a specific book I want to crowdfund. And I already know what that book is. I already know what that master plan is. It'll be, right? I already have that book in my head. Well, now I have a bit of a history. I also have another big advantage too, is I have a lot of connections. Right? I have a lot of connections. That's my other big advantage. So it's me tapping into a different market than a lot of authors are looking at right now. Because again, you have a choice. Like, you can't control when a hit happens. No one has any. If Harry Potter happened tomorrow, that'd be awesome. But we can't bet on that. But what we can bet on is, okay, can I build an audience of 100 to 1,000 people, okay, that are loyal enough that they're going to want to support me no matter what I do? That is the tangible challenge I feel authors, and even to my pod as a podcaster, right? That's what I'm trying to do. That's my real goal. Because if I build that audience and that audience supports me, even if it's 1,000 people.
I've done something similar with my new book. It's now with an editor. But while I was writing it, every single chapter went onto Wattpad. And so I was having the public read my book before it was even edited. And I've never allowed that before. I've never allowed people to see my work until it was polished. So these people are reading and they're giving votes, and some people are commenting, which is great. And I know that people are reading it, whether they leave a comment or not. They're sort of secret readers, you call them. But I know the numbers. And then I heard about a place called Inkit, where if your book gets really popular, you have a chance of being published by them. And I thought, well, okay, I'll put it on there. So then I started putting the chapters on Inkit. And I finished the book, and I told everyone it's a first draft, and the first draft is staying on Inkit, first draft is staying on Wattpad. Anybody can read it. Of course, it's being published, and it's going to be very, very different by the time it's published. What I noticed is I've got like, I don't know, 1,600 maybe reads on Wattpad, and on Inkit I have nearly 22,000. Now, that is my new audience. That is my new readers, because when the book is published, I will go onto Inkit and I will leave a link and I will show the new cover and I will tell them, thank you so much for reading the book. Now read the final publication. It's available to you to read. And if 22,000 people have read, or maybe even 30,000 by the time it's ready, have read the book, maybe 100, 200 people will go out and want to read the final polished version of the book. I've had, okay, you can see where the people have come from who are reading, how long they spend reading, and you'd be amazed how many have been binge reading that went right from the first chapter and didn't stop until they got to the end of the book.
Which is what you want. Which
is what you want. Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's what
so
you want.
Audience, my new audience is there, and this is for a new genre for me. This is dark romance mafia. It's very violent. It's very sexual violence in it. It's raw. It's probably one of the most emotional, and I put her through hell. This main character, she goes through one torture, one hand to another mafia's hand to another one. Everybody wants this woman. So I put her through hell, and she gets a happy ending in the end. But people know, and I tell them, you know, if you're under the age of 18, don't read it. There is a violent part coming up. I'll leave a little warning at the top. There is a sexual part coming up. I'll leave a little warning. That's not going to happen in the real book, of course. That's for people that are reading on Wattpad and Inkit. For those that don't want to go explicit but really enjoy the actual story itself, but don't want to read the explicit parts. So I give them a warning on that. The book is, I've done thrillers, I've done MC, which are pretty violent themselves because they're about outlaw motorcycle clubs. So you can imagine what goes on in these books. And that's a set called, and you have this one that goes with it. That's a set called Outlaws, and I get pretty explicit in there for violence. But this one, Broken Chains, is tops that, and the people that have read it haven't been bothered by the explicitness of the book. Not only have I put it on Wattpad and opened myself up to the public for the first time. I'm losing my voice now because that's the stupid thing that's wrong with my throat. I've also narrated each chapter, and I have a YouTube channel for Broken Chains where people can listen to me reading each chapter. It allows the book to come alive because it gets more emotional when you read it. It's like acting. You're acting out a part for the listener, for the viewer. So, and again, when it gets explicit, then I put it on to 18, and only 18-year-olds can watch the YouTube and listen to it. Then I put it in my newsletter. I've got nearly 2,000 now on my newsletter. I don't want to go over because I don't want to pay what MailChimp are charging for after 2,000. So I try and keep it 2,000, and I'm happy with that.
Okay.
So I put a chapter every newsletter. I said to them, right, we are getting into some really heavy shit now. do you still want to read it? Because if you don't, let me know and I will not post it on my newsletter. And I didn't get one reply back. So I carried on posting it. And the thing about the newsletter is that everyone says, oh, you need to separate your readers for your books. I write in every genre. I write in thriller, fantasy, supernatural, dystopian, erotica, young adult, short stories, poetry, prose. I write everything. So I had to make sure that the readers on my newsletter like all of these genres, and I don't lose or get people to unsubscribe because I'm writing. I was scared when Toxic came out. I warned people it's an erotica, and I was scared of how many people would unsubscribe from my newsletter. I got 11 unsubscribes. That's it. And I got loads of downloads when it came out.
So this is a theory of mine. This is a theory of mine actually, and this is how. Now, I know what kind of writer I want to be. I love for me personally, I want to be what I call a dime novelist. I love Roger Zelazny. I love Ray Bradbury. I love those like 30 to 50 or 30 to 60,000 word novels. They're fun to binge. They're small enough. You can still put an awful lot into that, but you're not. I don't feel you're like outside of like certain genres. I feel like there's a certain degree of bloatation in traditional publishing on some of these stories. And I've always loved like just getting that meat and potatoes. Let's have a really fun, tell a really good yarn and get out. I love that. And which is why like one of my favorite personal reads, I love Japanese light novels. I love that format so much. Like essentially my own fiction path is going to be very similar, especially since now I'm illustrating my own stuff too to boot, where they somewhat. So I'm going to create a very unique experience every time I do a book. Now, the thing about that is I think it's not so much about genre anymore, because I think here's the thing. When you're doing traditional publishing, it's finding that formula that works for the traditional publisher. So what happens, I think, with a lot of authors is they have to be pigeonholed into these particular spots because they know this works. This will work. If you go into erotica, if you go into horror, if you go into fantasy, you go into all these different things, and you can do it traditionally too, but you do it through a much more gradual process. Here, if I decide my next book is going to be self-help penguin zombie apocalypse in one, it can be that, and it doesn't really matter, right? There is an audience for it. But what's happening now, I think, especially in the more independent scenes, it's not about the genre experience. It's about the author's experience. What are you going to get when you read a Karina Kantas? What are you going to get when you read a Joshua Cantoresco? What are you going to get when you read somebody else? It's not necessarily about the genre anymore in the independent world. Now that's not completely accurate. If you're in a romance genre, there's definitely degrees. But I feel like where marketing's going for us, it's not about the genre. It's about the brand, right? The kind of story you tell. Does that make sense?
Book. It's not really about the book. It's about the author.
Yeah.
We have to promote ourselves and show that we're good at what we do and we are professionals, and you really need to read our work. No one's going to spend money on someone they don't know, unless it's word of mouth. It's word of mouth and they accidentally come across a book. But if they learn about this, meet this author, either face-to-face or virtual, and they learn more about them, and then they learn about their books, that's when you get sales, that's when you get your reader, and that's when that reader will stay with you and support you through all your books that you write.
Yeah, and that's where I think authors are going. I equate it to professional wrestling, right? So there's these old interviews from like the '80s where me and Gene Okerlund would be interviewing these wrestlers in the back. Now, my favorite one is Macho Man. Macho Man Randy Savage was a one of a kind. You're laughing, but there's an important lesson there. And here's the thing: Macho Man knew who he was and who he wasn't. and he believed it. I think the thing as a salesman, not just as an author, but as a salesman in general, I also as a result of this, I look at politics a little differently too. You realize that the real secret to success in getting people to buy into a concept is if you believe in the concept, right?
You need to believe in your book. You need to have 100% confidence in that book and in yourself. And if you're just, oh, I'm not sure if people like this book, I'm not sure if I've written it correctly, I don't know if it's polished enough. If that happens, then your book will go nowhere. You need to be 100% confident in your book and yourself to make that sale.
And you also need to keep writing. That's the other thing too. Like I said, I've learned this like already. Like for me, like to succeed at this, I figured like again, I'm okay at this marketing thing. I think I'm not necessarily. I still have things to learn, but I think as we've talked here, I have no fear of making an ass of myself. I think the fact that I have that so little fear of that, it actually works in my favor because it's like you're gonna look foolish out there. Meh, it's okay. People are gonna forgive me for it because I'm just gonna be me and I'm not gonna worry about like the I'm not gonna worry about failing. I'm not gonna worry about looking bad. I think the biggest lesson I've learned in the last year, especially when I started drawing, is it really doesn't matter what it looks like in the moment. What it matters is that you do it and that you believe in what you're doing. It doesn't really matter. Everything else is discovery, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And some things will fail, some things will succeed. Like I said, I have to play the Amazon ads this year. I have to play it. I have there are specific market niches that I feel are very underserved in, right? Like I said, I mentioned Kickstarter, I mentioned Indiegogo is another one. I feel authors in particular are missing the boat. It's not about it. It's not. There are these micro audiences for these different things, and like you found, like Inked was for you a gold mine because 22,000 readers. I'm going to be a little bit more generous than you are. You probably got closer to 1,000, 2,000 people that are going to look at your stuff going forward. I'm just going to assume you're good. So, I mean, if I'm wrong, I mean, that's fine, but I'm just going to...
You have to go onto Inkit now and read it.
Yeah. So, but I'm just going to assume you're good. So if you're good, you're probably going to maintain 10% of that audience, right? So you've just created a readership of 200 more people to buy your books without even trying, right? And if you're interacting with those people too, which is a big part of what we're doing, right, today, then again, going back to something that you said earlier, you don't have time to market. That's not true. You're marketing more for yourself than you realize, right? That's right. I just think for you, you've made the decision to, I'm gonna worry about my services. I love to teach. Maybe even more than you love to write, you actually like to teach. And that's what you're doing when you're helping people market their stuff, is you're teaching people how to do things. There's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like if we're going to be honest with ourselves, have our little come to Jesus meeting on this, you are marketing, but what you're marketing is about what you want, which is for you want to help people. And I think that's not a bad thing. It's just, I just feel like that maybe if you look in the mirror on this, you would rather be known for helping people than being a good writer. That's not saying you don't care about your writing, but that's saying, like, you know what? I'm good with serving. And by the way,
I gave up for a while for writing. I nearly 5 years before I picked up a pen again.
yeah.
Now I've just got books coming out everywhere. I'm currently working on a short story for an anthology, and I've never been in an anthology before. That's really exciting. I'm working on the second book of Toxic, and I'm also waiting for my editor to bring me back the second draft of Broken Chains, which I'm really excited to see what she thought of it, and the notes and the red marks and the get rid of this, and here's a suggestion, and you've done this wrong, and you've done
the papers of it's all red. It's red. It's red.
All red. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for that manuscript to come back to me, because I'm so excited about this book, the way it's gone so far, the the people that have been reading from the newsletter, the people that have been watching the narrations, leaving comments, or just watching. With YouTube, you can see how many people watched your video. You know, I could have 7 people, I could have 200 people another time, but you know, there's someone that started from the beginning and is going through every single video, and doing it that way. Yes, like as you said, I'm promoting myself, but I love selling, I love author assist, but I love writing as well. I don't know if I'll ever stop writing. I'll keep on publishing books, and that's going to happen. But because I've got that weekend that I've kept for myself, it's that weekend where I'm the writer. I'm the writer. That's it.
So I'm going to ask. So this, I think this is a good final question, and maybe we'll keep talking for a few more minutes. But I think this is probably the perfect final question, because again, we're talking about honesty. If you were to look in the mirror and you were to say, okay, what do I want people to know me for? Is it your books, or is it that you help others? My gut tells me, based on your actions, it's the second one. It's not that you don't care about the first one. I'm not saying you don't. You still want to be a writing rock star.
I haven't talked much today about my books. We've been talking about my services. I have so much passion for my books. I could talk about them all the time.
I don't disagree with that. Again, I am not saying you don't, because again, you've written 13 books. There's a lot of passion to put out 13 books. I like to say that there's none would be a flat ass lie. No, you really do care about it. But I'm listening to your schedule. I'm listening to what you're doing and how you're doing it. And it again, and this is not a knock. I actually think it's actually really, really cool, right? I just feel for you enjoy helping other people. And that is not, it's not terrible. I mean, all I'm saying here, right? It's like, it's not a terrible thing. Right?
I'm a split person. I definitely do more author assist than I do writing, because I only keep my writing for the 2 days, and then I do my services for the 5. So it's definitely more for my services, but I have so much passion for my books. I wish I could go through them and talk to you about them, and you'd see how passionate I am about them.
I can hear it. I want you to understand something. I'm not, again, I'm going to repeat this very generally. I know you're very passionate about your books. In fact, I'm going to have you talk about them when we wrap up the show. I mean, totally. But yeah, exactly. Like you've been showing them. I mean, you've been talking, like when you talked about Inked It and how excited you are to meet this new audience. I mean, you can hear it, right? You talked about Toxic. You have talked about your books quite a bit in here. But this is just me like again, I listen for a living, and what I've listened at is how you've structured your life, how you've done things, right? You enjoy serving others, and that's a cool thing. That's not like you've made a business of writing awesome books and also helping others help show the world that they have awesome books too. That's not a bad way to say.
It's important for me to try and teach as many authors who are in the same position I was 27 years ago. I want them to learn everything that I learned. I started from nothing, and everything that I learned, I want to give back to authors that need it. And yes, that's I love doing that, and I want to carry on doing that. I want to help as many authors as I can. And that's why I started Author Assist. It's not just a VA or a PA job. I do everything with them, and I'm there for them 24/7. But I write as well.
And like I said, I'm going to repeat this. There's no one's questioning that. Like again, look at all the books you've done. You have a career. I mean, you have a career. Both careers are something you can be very proud of, right? And I feel that one and the other kind of go hand in hand. You remember how you started. You remember all the bumpy road there, and it is a bumpy road. Especially like I remember my first book in my 20s. There was no platform for me to figure this stuff out. I'm closer to 40 now. Like 20 years is a long time in terms of how the industry has evolved. 20 years ago, me publishing my own book was frowned upon. Now it's the norm, right? Now it's more normal than being traditionally published. And I feel like it's and again, another conversation for another day. Traditional publishing has put itself in a very interesting corner, and I feel they have to, as they know it. I think they're going extinct, and that's just me me seeing a side.
I think that small presses are pushing out the big five. The small independent publishers are doing better and bringing out more books and pushing the big five out. And I honestly think that they are taking over.
That's cool. No, I think again, going back to something we talked about earlier, right? I look at publishing. I look at publishing about what you offer. I think there's some great small presses even out here. Here we're more big five centric still because this is their base. I feel, in one very, very cool sense, Europe. I can't speak for it. Again, Japan is amazing. Like their light novel programs are incredible. Like what they do there is they understand they've moved one step closer to where we're at in North America, but by and large they still very much value their intellectual property. They see the value in that. Here it's a lot more corporate, and because of that, I think what's happened is there's becoming so big you can't move. And I think what's happened with traditional publishing here is you got these big houses, and I'm not above working for one of those big houses, but I also know this too. I'm not doing it unless it makes sense for me to do it. And that, like I've hit that point now where, again, strictly as a business, I don't need permission. I don't need the what's the term? I don't need the well, I don't need that privilege. I don't need that. I've won awards for my podcast. I know it, like having like some being recognized by your peers, how awesome that is. But there's a point too where you're like, I'm great with that. Why are we doing just this? Why not just get paid? Why not? I mean, I'm more interested in, okay, I'm trying to make this a business. So in my business, where does this make sense for me to go? There are some publishers that make a lot of sense. If not, prestige is nice to a point, and saying I've done it is a cool thing, even if it's a one and done. But I'm looking at it like, okay, I've done traditional publishing too. So it's like, I don't necessarily need.
You do the same work with the traditional publisher. You are the marketer. You are the promoter. They bring out the book. They publish it. They do the cover. They edit it. You're the one who has to go on social media and promote your book. Whether you're big five or a small press, it's exactly the same as self-publishing.
Yeah. Well. Here's the thing. That makes sense. Like you gotta promote yourself, even if you are a big publisher, you have to promote yourself. I just think looking at it from where I see it today versus what I see it in the past, it's like anything else. It's the amount of money put into promoting the work. If they're not really promoting the work anymore, then you don't like. That's just you're in a very interesting quagmire. Yeah, it's nice to see my book in the bookstore, but I don't. But if you're not advertising it, it's not going to sell. Now, if you put some sale, then now there are traditional publishers still that will put some marketing, will put some time in, will put it's like anything else. The more money someone puts into something, the more they believe in it, the more that it is going to happen. And there are still situations like that in traditional publishing. But if I'm not in one of those situations, I don't know if I do it. There's so many. Like again, I just mentioned 3 options earlier. There are others still out there for independent publishing, and that's kind of authors need to really think about. Authors need to ask themselves that question going forward. Like you, traditionally published. Why? Audiobooks. You wanted audio. There was something you specifically wanted that they could provide you. So it made sense for you to go and do traditional
Exactly.
publishing, right? Now, if you could have done it yourself, would you have gone? Maybe, maybe not, right? And that's again, this is the business of the business today. It's you. If you're a publisher, you have to think in terms of, ironically, what we're thinking about now is service. How do we serve? I like again. I'm providing marketing. That's what I do for any guest that comes on the show. That's a service, but it's also fun. I mean, I imagine you've had a good time being here. I hope you've had a good time being here. Anyway,
I want to read you something. Let me read.
yeah, okay, we're gonna read. Okay. So as we get to the end of so how about we do this then? Let's do the fun. Let's go out like this then. Before we wrap up, what's your latest book? Like what was your latest release?
That's Broken Chains, which is with the editor. But I remember from my show when we were talking, I told you about flash fiction, how close your prose is to flash fiction. And I told you my method of how I do it. So I want to read you one.
Sure, go for it. So introduce it, let people know what it's about, and then go for it.
Well, I don't know which one to read though, so
pick one. Just flip a coin.
They're all different genres, and they're like a page long.
So pick one. Okay, which one do you have the most fun with? We'll go with that one. What's the most fun to you?
I don't know. They're all amazing.
Gotta love that.
Let's go with. Oh, I know. Do you remember I told you about prompts when an author gets stuck on something and they can't get past it on their novel? And then they find this prompt where they ask the readers, give me 3 random words, and I will write a flash fiction about using these random words. And that gets the juices flowing. And when you've done it, you go back to your novel and you carry on writing.
Yeah.
And one of the prompts here, if I can find it, it was jelly, corpse, and butterfly. Those were the 3 words I had to use for this flash fiction.
Butterfly, all right.
And it's called Butterfly Effect. Okay. Who would volunteer their face for a scientific experiment? Well, I wouldn't. Neither would any sane member of the public, which is why inmates serving life sentences were handed over for this government project. By the time the bill passed, freedom of speech had been demolished, so there were very few demonstrations. Now the famous chemists, biologists, and DNA experts had 1 year to perfect an antidote for ugliness. Being branded ugly put you in a new class, the lowest in society. Ugly people were shunned and segregated by the butterflies of the modern regime, forced to live and work in the poorest parts of the country. However, even that wasn't enough to satisfy the beautiful people. It was announced that if this wondrous treatment did not work, then drastic measures would be taken. I swallowed the bile that rose in my throat as I barely glanced at the deformed face of what used to be Prisoner X. Taking a deep breath, I forced myself to look again before turning to Dr. Sapphire Turner. That's nothing, she said, her brilliant teeth beaming their brightness at me, her voice soft like a young glowing skin. You should have seen the last batch. It was like looking at the face of a jellied corpse. Her perfectly proportioned breasts bounced as she laughed. Jellied corpse seemed a valid description of what I was looking at, I thought. My stomach wouldn't digest a worse vision. Prisoner X's skin had mutated into large pus-filled abscesses, and I watched as the skin bubbled and new boils appeared and then burst with a squelch. The vile stench of the mucus as it ran down the crusty skin and soaked into the now lime green pillow made me want to vomit. Covering my mouth, I turned my head from the sight. I swallowed the acid saliva before addressing the stunning doctor. So what went wrong with this one? I asked. Nothing, she chirped. The result is how we expected. Her hand touched my shoulder, but it was quickly removed in disgust. It's trial and error at this point, but we'll find a cure. The way she used the word cure made my skin crawl. Ugliness wasn't a disease, and who gave them the fucking right to judge? I would never have classed myself ugly, but the yellow armband I was forced to wear told me there were others that did. It didn't matter that I was one of the lucky ones, permitted to continue working among perfection. I remained an outcast waiting for my sentencing, beautification or annihilation. And that was Butterfly Effect.
Butterfly Effect. I'm so pretty. Oh, so pretty. No, it's really good. Really, really good. So it reminded me of a book called Uglies by Scott Westerfeld a little bit. The concept is similar. The way you describe the experiment, though, I mean, the doctor was kind of creepy. The person talking about talking to prisoner X is like about prisoner X, like, yeah, it's an insane world. And it always, yeah, you can see it. You can totally see that something like that being possible. And so.
And that was one page. That was one page story, but the whole story was there. Start, middle, end. And that's what flash fiction is about. You have a scene in your head and you write the scene, but it has a conflict. Why did the conflict start? What is the conflict and what's the conclusion? That's flash fiction.
So, okay, there's a big fun writing question we can have for you here. That's this. I've gotten to the point of my evolution process in terms of when I write stories that even my scenes have stories within the stories. There's a lot of things. It's about show and tell. So has flash fiction helped you with show and tell with your bigger works?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you learn?
It certainly does. A lot of writers find it really hard to write flash fiction because they're novelists and they're used to doing longer work. And of course, when you do a novel, you don't put everything in. You space it out. But with flash fiction, every word counts. You have a specific word count. You stick to that, and every word you use has to count. Same with poetry and prose. Prose is half flash fiction and half poetry, without the rhyming, of course. And every word counts, and it needs to mean something. And so, with novel writing, as a novelist, doesn't matter about wasting words to get that description out, to get that scene working. You can use as many words as you want. But with flash fiction, you have to be so careful of how many words you use and what words you use to make sure that the reader sees that scene and it plays as a film for them. But you've only have so many words you can use to get that across.
Which is very important. We could have another discussion about it. I actually think less is more, even in longer form storytelling, because I feel that it's not about what you say; it's about what you don't. Right? It's about what you make people see. That's when you tell. That's when a good story is. It's like, hey, why did they? Holy crap, that's awesome, right? And people just click. It just clicks, right? And that's important. That's, I think, a very important part of the novel. Again, I've learned. It'll be interesting when I release my second novel, my sixth book, my second novel, because I've evolved quite a bit. My writing style has evolved quite a bit from the first book, and I'm kind of curious what people are going to think about it when it's done. So, but that is, for me,
it's good you're taking the chance. That's what I did. I started off with my MC thrillers, and I got an audience that loved Outlaw Motorcycle Club books, and then I went straight to fantasy, and then from fantasy I went to erotica and dystopian, and then supernatural and young adult. And it's good that you branch out. It's good that you try new things. Of course, you don't know until you have it published whether your readers are going to like that. Like I said, I was a bit shaky with the dystopian erotica, but thankfully everyone enjoyed it. But it's good to branch out and not stick to that one genre and try these new things and try a different way of writing, a different writing style even. It gives you more breathing space. It allows you to expand yourself and, of course, expand your marketplace and your readers.
Yes, and like I said, it's also why I do different art styles too. I actually find that the more things I do, the more tools I have, and and it's amazing how all these disciplines actually, ultimately, what they have in common is storytelling. But it's interesting because you learn different ways of telling stories, and as you learn more different ways of telling stories, you find that your style becomes a lot more nuanced, and you find it becomes a lot more you can do so much more, and you see
Heads and Tails, which is again a collection of short, very one-page stories of all different genres. If you read the reviews on Amazon, they say, I can't believe that one writer wrote this collection, because there are so many different writing styles in this book. And that's what the reviewers say, not myself.
so that's very much like you like playing. You're an experimenter yourself when you write. When you create, it's as much about discovery for you as it is about telling a story. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Well, Miss Karina, we could talk for a lot longer. I think we probably could. I enjoyed this chat. I really did. However, I do think we've gone for about 90 minutes. I mean, I could definitely go longer, but I think this is as good as a place to stop as it is. You're always welcome to come back. Although, like if you have seen, my show's crazy. It's crazy how many people have said yes to being interviewed by me. I'm very flattered about that. So, but down the road, we'll have a wonderful conversation about different art styles. I mean, we get you singing about, life, the universe, and everything here, and read more stories.
I love chatting with you. We go from one topic to another, up to the hemisphere and back down to Earth. I love it.
Yeah, it's what I do. This is the thing. Like, it's about, for me, it's about the conversation. It's not I've learned so much. I don't know if you realize this. I've learned so much about you in this conversation, right? About who you are, what you do, kind of why you do it. That's why I called you out on something. But in the fact that you do market yourself, I think more than you realize. But I think, but this show is about who is Karina Kantas, because that's a worthwhile story to tell. And in your case, you are a person that loves what she does and wants to help others love what they do too. And that's a pretty cool story in and of itself, I think. Anyway.
Thank you, Josh.
But as we wrap up, so I asked you so when was your last release? Like, when was your last book?
It would have been the box set of Illusional Reality, the 2 books in one, that came out with my publisher a few months ago.
Okay, so how about we do this then, to wrap the show up, and then I'll wrap the show up afterwards. Plug your services, plug your show, plug your latest release, and then how people can find you, and then I'll come and wrap it up.
Okay. You can hear me on once a month on Author Assist on the Artist First radio show. I have maybe 5,000 regular listeners. It's live worldwide, where I chat with authors. I also have a podcast and a YouTube show, Behind the Pen, which is another one where I chat with authors about their journey so far and their plans for the future. Narrations by KK is also a podcast and is on YouTube, where I narrate small excerpts from authors' books. So it's a new way of promoting and marketing the author and getting their work out there. I run Author Assist since 2015, and I promote, market, publicize. I do graphic design, book trailers, narrations. I even brainstorm with authors when they get stuck. There's over 30 services. You can contact me if any authors out there need help with their book and they're stuck. I am a published author and a self-published and contracted author with 14 books. Next one is coming out, which is going to be a dark mafia thriller called Broken Chains. You can find me all over social media. I don't use a pen name, even for my erotica. I'm still Karina Kantas. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter, Facebook, of course, MeWe. You can find me on these two new platforms. I can't remember what they're called now. Other places, just to, if you Google me on Karina Kantas, Google me, you'll have nearly 75,000 things, because I've been around a very, very long time. And so there's lots and lots about me on the web. And that's it. So, yeah, thank you so much for allowing me to be on the show, Josh.
Oh, I was happy to have you. You were nice enough to have me on your show. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my conversation with Karina Kantas, and that will do it for this episode of Just Josh. And if you want to support this podcast, you can do the following. You can click on follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/justjoshinpodcast. You can find me on YouTube. My channel is Joshua Pantellaresco. You can buy my books. The links will be in the description below. It is if you're just coming in later on. Beyond all that, guys, stay inspired. I will be back tomorrow with my first streamer from France as International Week continues. Keep shining in the darkness, and I will see you guys next time.